I've heard of Breath of Fire for years. So my father is Ron Gonzalez. He's a former journalist with the Orange County Register, and he was the one that introduced me to Breath of Fire. I'm really lucky that my parents have been extremely supportive of my theater career. When I was a kid, they thought it was really important for me, to not only pursue this passion, but to see artists that reflected my experience. And so they took me to Casa 101 to see the plays of Josefina Lopez. I remember I saw the workshop production of Electricidad at South Coast Repertory Theater. My dad introduced me to Breath of Fire, and I think what really drew me to all of these artists is not only did they reflect my cultural experience, but they were artists that didn't see themselves reflected in mainstream theater. And so they created their own opportunities. They created their own stories. They took ownership of those stories because they weren't being told in the traditional theater canon. And that really, really inspired me. I saw those artists and I thought, that's the theater artist that I want to be. I want to be that theater artist. I want to create those kinds of opportunities for other artists as well. And so when I thought about who I wanted to collaborate with for Olvidados, those values were really, really important to me because those are cornerstones that I've really held on to in my own work. This is a piece about 4 very strong women. And so it was important for me to find a director that shared that identity. I immediately thought of Sarah Guerrero as sort of my dream director. I thought this would be a fantastic project for Breath of Fire. And I very nervously reached out to them a few months ago. You just never know if a project is going to be the right fit for a particular director or a theater group. But I was really lucky that Sarah was very enthusiastic, and so was Breath of Fire. More voices need to be heard in the theater world because as I keep saying, there are so many stories that need to be shared. I mean, when we look at the United States, we're such a diverse country. We are a story of people of all kinds of backgrounds, immigrants, and again, so many of these stories, for so long we've been focusing on a certain perspective, on a certain narrative, but I think it's high past the time that we tell stories in theater that reflect our own communities, our local communities, our state communities, the communities in our home countries. And I think people are hungry for that. We're tired of seeing the same thing. We want to see stories on stage that challenge us. We want to see stories on stage that bring us joy. We want to see stories on stage that encourage comfortable conversations so that we're able to move forward as a society. And so I really see just in my own circles, in my own communities, that people are really pushing for change. And I am hopeful that it's actually going to happen this time. I think it's the playwriting classes, the creative classes that Breath of Fire offers to the community are so important because I think that it fosters lean into what it is to be a storyteller. I think Breath of Fire, just in their life as a theater company, has been modeling what it is to create your own work, to tell your own stories. And I think it's really important to offer that kind of mentorship to the artists in our communities because we don't always get that mentorship. It can be hard to find, and I think Breath of Fire does a fantastic job of offering that to the community. I mean, we need leaders. We need seasoned artists to reach out and share their talents, foster the next storytellers. I think that other playwrights and other artists should absolutely get involved with Breath of Fire because they're just an amazing organization. They have so much enthusiasm, true passion for the work that they do. They have They're actually working in the community, which I think is amazing, connecting the arts to community work. Um, and it's just great to work with a group of artists that um, believe in what you have to bring to the table. You know, I'm kind of an outsider to Breath of Fire. You know, I've been familiar with their work, but I've been living in another state and I don't know them that well. And I was welcomed with open arms. They were really excited about my project, about supporting it. And theater companies like Breath of Fire are crucial to our communities. As I said before, I think that they are doing really important work, not just producing amazing theater, but supporting their local community, being involved with the local community, getting the local community involved in the arts. I think that the work that they're doing um, shows how important the arts are. You know, not just to artists, but to communities. You know, not everybody can afford to go see a Broadway production or you know a professional production in Los Angeles, and so I think that they're telling really amazing stories and making it accessible to community. And I think it's important to support these organizations not only for that, but again, we're coming out of COVID. We're coming out of a year of not having any live performance or theater. Of course, we've all been very creative about that, and we've been doing amazing, important, wonderful work on Zoom. But I think it's really important to support theater companies like Breath of Fire as they're transitioning back into live performance, as they're transitioning into, you know, what is theater post COVID? What does that look like? What does it feel like? What are the stories that we're committed to telling? And so I think that it's important to support theater companies like Breath of Fire as they navigate what theater looks like in the post COVID world.